Hello, afternoon. Here we have another of our webinars. Apologies for last week if you tried to come to our webinar, but we had some technical difficulties that seem to have been resolved. So, without much ado, let me share with you our webinar. Let me just double check that you are actually seeing what I'm seeing, so just bear with me a sec. No, you don't seem to be. So let me just have a look. Oh, sorry. Okay. So okay. So welcome. Today we are going to be looking at some microbit projects. They are specifically focused for entry-level projects you can do with your students to learn how to use microbits, and at the same time explore some mindfulness techniques, some mental health techniques that may capacitate your students into handling some of the stress that they normally have in school. So the first project is called the Calming Breaths Machine, and I'm going to show you a video from the BBC Microbit. It is this project is very easy. It does say you need a battery, but you don't actually need it. So if you just have it connected with your computer, that will work fine. Okay, so let's have a see. Okay, so this is a very small video from the Make Code the Make Code platform, which is a Microsoft platform for microbit. If you have a look, you can just type Make Code into your search browser, and you will be able to see it. Okay. You can, if you, in your right corner, you may be able to sign in if you want, but you don't. I am signed in, but you don't have to be signed in to create any projects. It's just a good way of keeping all your projects. Just be mindful that after a few months of not using a project, they might be deleted from Make Code. But if you download it, and I will show you how to do that, you certainly will be able to keep it and just re-upload it if you want to work on it again. So we are going to start by clicking New Project. We are going to name a project, and because I'm going to use this project to show you a few different projects, I'm just going to call it Test Project. But you could call it something more appropriate if you're just doing the Calming Breaths machine, like Calming Breaths, or any other name that will remind you of what the project is about. So once it's loaded, you have actually a few options on how you can program your microbit. You can use blocks, which is what we're going to be using today, but you can always also use either Python or a JavaScript language. Okay, so mind you that the Python is basically just a scripted version of the blocks. Okay, so if I can just give you a very small intro on this platform, just in case some of you have not used it before. Here you have the little simulator for our microbit. And like many of the other visual code platforms, you have different categories where you can find some commands. So in BASIC, you have things like all the showing commands, like showing the LEDs, which are these little squares. And if I show you, you can have, so if I put show LEDs, you can define which of these little squares will be lighting up. So if I want all of them, I can put all of them. If I just want a few, I can just put a few. So if you see now they have more. So if I put all of them on, you'll see how many LEDs we actually have. So, and we can use this to play around with things. So you have your basic for show, and also the on start, on forever, and the pause functions. But you can also have like input. So when we press button A or B or both, when we shake, you can also have melodies playing. Mind that what version of the microbit you have, because if you have a newer version, the microbit itself comes with some audio, so you can just use it. But if you have the version 1 of microbit, you're gonna have to put a little bit either some headphones or something in it to be able to listen to it, or an adapter of some kind. If I can show you also, so you can make variables, use logic, some conditional if statements and loops. So it's basically like what you would expect in a visual code platform. So the first one, what we're not going to use our start, we're just going to put it in the bin, and then if we need it again, we will get it. But for now, if I show you, we are going to start just by putting one LED in the middle of our display. So, and what we want is, for the number of LEDs around it to kind of spread and then contract, so that it mimics a breath. So the student, when he's looking at the little microbit, when it's expanding, he slowly expands his breath or her breath, and then again, when the display goes down, then they exhale the breath. So it's just to help them to control their breathing. Okay, so to do so, we're just going to have that, and then we are going to put another show LED, and we are going to change it so that it has almost like a little cross. So if we run this, you'll see that it just goes very fast, which is definitely not what we want. So what we're going to do is we are going to put a pause. This you can find in BASIC, and we can put a pause of like a second. And here you can choose milliseconds, you can choose 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, but you could also put a different number in. You just need it need to add it. So if we want, for example, 7 seconds, we just need to add it. Now this is far too much for what we want, so we're just going to put 1 second. And you shall see that now it's already a little bit. But when it goes back to the beginning, can you not see that it's still going very fast? So what we can do is, at the beginning as well, we can just put another second, and you'll clearly see there is a difference now. And then, but now this to me continues to be quite a small breath. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think it's still a very small breath. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill it a little bit more, and we are going to put a bigger, a fuller cross. Okay, now it doesn't need to necessarily be the way I am doing it, but you get the picture. But again, we're going to have the same problem, because it's going to go and then very quickly. So we're going to add here. Okay, so now what do we have? It very, very slowly goes in, but then it's very short. So now we need to do exactly the opposite. And now we can actually use something that's very useful, which is duplicating a block. So if I just duplicate the middle block, there'll be a little bit gray, and all you need to do is just drag it. And we can do the same for the pause ones, because we know we're going to need those. So we're going to very slowly drag it to where we want. And we can do the same to our little one. Okay. And we are going to duplicate that. And now we can breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And now we can also add something called clear screen, which will indicate to the students that we are actually, if I can, let me just try and make it a little bit smaller so you can see it all. So it will actually, when it finally comes down, you'll clear the screen and then you'll start over. And now you can play a little bit around. So for example, here, I don't think a second is quite necessary. So you could have just, for example, 200 milliseconds after clearing the screen. So breathe in, breathe out, it clears the screen and it starts again. Okay? So this is our first exercise. It is very simple. It only uses basic functions, so it's the perfect exercise to start off with. You only have a couple of commands, but it starts to give your students a little bit of an idea of how we can use our microbit to do a project on the area of mindfulness. Okay, so I'm now going to show you the next project. Oh, sorry, it's here that I want. Okay, so the next project is a light meter. Okay, so if you see, this is something I did earlier. If you put it to the light, it will start to be a little bit brighter. And actually, if it's a full sunny day, you'll go completely, all the things will go on. And then as you move it away from the light, it will stop being so bright. One of the ways that you can very easily use this is by for example, you could do a little alarm and in a box and the students. So this would not be a mindfulness project, but just a different type of project. you could have it as a little alarm inside a box, and whenever you open the box, it would make a sound. But in this project, what I would suggest, if you are trying to incorporate some mental healthiness, you could explore, the benefits of light exposure on students, and go around your school inside and outside and see where are the areas where you get the most sun exposure. So it would be a very easy way to integrate various subjects on this. So if I were to do this, we are going to go and get our forever block. Okay. And we are going to start by having the situation when we have all our LEDs on. Okay. And we are going to use some conditions. So if I come here and I will put this one inside, I can then use some of this, some of these input properties that we have access to. So one of the sensors that your microbit has is a small light sensor, and it records its values inside this little light level. Now, we want really to compare. So to be able to compare this light level with a number, which is this case, we would need to still go to logic and get one of these comparison blocks. And then, as we normally do with visual coding, you would get the little variable where the sensor stores these values. And if you notice here, it will actually tell you the values. So if you can see where my mouse scroller is in the microbit, you'll see that without any sunlight, it's 0. And with all sunlight, it's 255. So you can see that the sensor, the values will be from very high intensity, 255, and almost to no light, 0. So we will say, for example, we can say from 240, show all the LEDs if it's very high intensity. And then we can put an else, and if you add another one, because we're going to have more than 2 conditions, it already automatically puts an else if. So we can actually duplicate this, put it here, and in my country, I have noticed that these are probably some of the best levels and to consider. But considering where you live, you might play around with these numbers so that it it corresponds to light levels and intensities that you are more used to. Okay, so I am going to duplicate this one as well, and in here I'm going to say that this is more of a medium intensity, so I'm going to take some of these out, just the outside borders, and then I am also going to then duplicate this and say that otherwise we're just gonna have a row. Now, we haven't actually touched these, and this would not be good because it would only work if that's the exact number. So what we're going to say, if it is more than 240, so very high intensity, then the light level is very strong. If it's more than 200, then the light intensity is medium or moderate. And then if it's below 200, it also automatically will assume this particular section of the logic, the condition statement, and will be considered low intensity. So if I test it out, it always goes to the medium. And you might notice that in some of the countries you live in, that will be considered moderate. In Portugal, where I live, that's even in winter we have days like this. So I adjusted my intensity level somewhat. So if we do, say, 206, you see that's moderate in my case, and then completely intensity, it's 255, and it gets awesome. So this is one of the other projects you can do. You can play around with values and actually ask your students to play around in values and get them to choose why they've chose those values to consider high, moderate, or low intensity. Okay. Now I am going to show you our next project. Let me just put this to the side. Our next project is a small step tracker. I'm sure you have seen this. In this case, you will see that they only have a little bandana on it. You will probably notice that this is not secure enough. Okay. What I've done with my students, and I'm very sorry I haven't managed to actually capture it, is we just made a little band that we attached with some double-sided tape, and the band was made with some Velcro, and that worked much better. And online you can actually get some cases for the microbit with some Velcro around it, that you could even make yourself the cases if you have some design and technology classes in your school, or even like a 3D printer. You can make these cases yourself. So don't just use a little string like this, because the microbit will fall very quickly. You will need a little battery for this if you use it in this way, because you won't be able to have the strap tracker connected to your computer and work it effectively. So you see, every time they jump, every time they... Okay, so and this is a very very easy way to introduce variables to your students, and you can use it in the project with like I said, with the other subjects like design and technology, with PE. So it is a very simple but interesting project when you're starting off. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the on start block, and before everything, we are going to make a variable that we are going to call steps, but you can call it whatever you want. We call it steps because we are measuring the number of steps. So what we can do is we can just change it to 0 when it starts. Okay. And then we are going to get here on shake. So it gets this little block will work on with the movement sensor, and if it notices that you are shaking, then it will perform an action that you desire. So in this case, we are going to say every time it shakes, we want to change the variable. So we want to change it by adding another number, by adding 1 step. Okay. But if you notice now, we can shake it, but nothing really, there's something happening in the background, but we can't see anything happening. So we need to find a way to display this. And we can do this by clicking forever and then show number. show number. Okay, it's here on the top. And then say, well, we don't want to show a number like that. We want to show the value of our variable. So if we play now, you can see that it is on 0. And then if we shake, if you click on this button, it's like if you were shaking the microbit itself. If you shake, then it will start displaying. And then when it has more than a single digit, it will start displaying this way. Okay. Now, the thing is, the only way to do it will be doing this automatically, and it doesn't really reset itself. So I wonder if there is another way we could do this. And I think there is, because we could do another block like this and say that when a button is pressed, and we could do on button A, B, or button A, B, then we want it to reset. I am going to choose A, B, and this is just because we are moving, the A button might be pressed accidentally, and it is much harder to press A and B at the same time. So we are going to, on button A and B pressed, we are going to set again our steps to 0. So what does this do? This means that when I run it, and I shake it, and I shake it, and if you see, I have this A and B button on the side that you don't have in your actual microbit, but it's to signify when you press A and B together. What it does, it lights up like it would, and now when you shake, you should have reset it to 0. So why didn't you? Okay. See, I didn't press it hard enough, I see. So now if you see it, it then changes it. So let's try that again. We're going, and now it's on 8, and if I press A and B, and it's in 0. So you might need to press it just a couple of times for it to do it. So this is our step tracker. We are going to pass on to the next one, which is it's just a little funny one to start working and introducing students to radio frequencies. So if I show you, this little project allows us to send a little icon. In this case, I chose a smile. We call it a smiletron in my school. So to send a smile to another microbit, and then send it back again. We'll also see that this is also very easy to do. So to do so, let me just turn this all away. So if we are going to from scratch, we are going to start by, on start, setting a radio group. So how to do that? We're going to go here, and we are going to set it, and you can set it to any ID you want. I'm going to set it for radio group 2. Why is this important? This is important because if students are doing this on their own, if they want to send a smile or anything from one microbit to another, and then even if they want to send it back, they need to be in the same radio group. What does this allow? This allows that different groups of students in the same class may have a different radio group. and then they can send things only to their group and not to anyone else. This allows you to have students even paired up in your class doing this, and the microbits will only communicate with each other and not to any other groups or pairs that are working on it. And it allows you to have an awful lot of groups. If you have a look, it goes up to 255. So whatever size group you have, this will work, okay? So I'm going to go for radio group 2, just because I like number 2. And then what are we going to do? We're going to say that when we press button A, we are going to clear our screen. So in case we have something on our screen, that it clears it. And we are going to send a radio string. And in this case, the radio string is going to say smile, because we're going to send a smile. Okay? And then, so this would mean that when we receive, we want to receive a smile. So I'm going to say that on a radio received string, we wanted to receive a string, we are going to show an icon. And in this case, we are going to show a smile. So if you do show an icon, it's basically like show LED, but it already has some of these pre-made. So you can have a heart, you can have a smile, you can have llamas. So you can do, send a llama if your kids are into that. Okay, so in this case, we're going to show a little smile. Okay, and this means that if I restart it, when I press A, it should give me another microbit. Yes, it does. See, every time it has every time it's using the radio, it has these little markings here on the top that almost look like waves. And then if I press A back, it will send another smile back. See? And what could you have? You could have one student that has this code and uploads them to the microbit that shows a smile. And then you could have another student, even in the same radio set group, so also set group 2. But instead of a smile, they could have, for example, a heart. And then they could be sending different things to each other. Okay, so that is our little Smilotron. To kind of pick up from this, we have done in our school what we call a teleporting duck. And students seem to really like this. It's a good way of adding some complexity to the Smilotron and kind of incorporate everything that we worked in previous projects. Things like setting a variable, conditions, and things like that. So to do that, we are going to set another variable. And this variable is going to be called choice. Okay? And we're going to set choice to 0. Okay. And on this case, what do we want this program to do? We want it to send some radio icons in a almost random way. Okay, so how do we set up some random behavior? To do that, we are going to duplicate. I'm going to put this down here. We are going to duplicate this, and we are going to set it again in button A pressed. But we are then going to use a mathematical expression that allows us to set some random numbers. And we're going to say that I want to set a random number from 1 to, for example, 3. Okay. And then it is going to send a string called smile, or we can also change it to, for example, duck, or in this case, random. So when the radio receives a string, and because we haven't defined what type of string we want, we can then add a condition, and in this case will be 3 conditions, because we need to set icons for number 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then we are going to compare. So if it's a comparison, we need to go to logic. We're going to compare the value of our variable choice. Okay. Then we're going to, oops, that's not what I want. So we're going to compare, and we're going to see if the random is 1, 2, or 3. So if our random number that we set here ends up being 1, we're going to say that we want to show an icon, and we want to show a little duck, for example. Okay? And then, if the choice is 2, we want to show another little icon, and we can duplicate and put it here. And we want to make it show a little llama. And if not, if it's number 3, and because we only have 3 conditions, we don't need to add anything else, we're going to say we want a little heart. Okay? So here we have, let's see if this works. Let's see if I didn't forget anything. So I play it and they say, we're going to press button A. Let's see. Oh, it shows, it picked 3. And now I'm going to do it back. And it sent it again a heart. Okay, let's see. Okay, now it sent a duck. And now it sent a heart again. Oh, it seems to like the heart. And now a llama. Okay, now, for example, we can add also an option that isn't so nice and cute. We can add now another option, for example, a cross. But now you shall see how now it cleared that one, because we don't actually have, we didn't define this as an elif. So now we need, because we have 4 choices, we need to alter this so that it looks at number 3, and we also need to alter this so that we can choose a random number from 1 to 4. And if you look, oops, it immediately found our little cross, and now a llama, and now another llama. Oh my goodness, it seems to like the llamas. Oh, it's because we have 2 llamas. Okay, we need to choose a different one here. Otherwise, it's not really 3 choices, is it? So we can go for a heart again, or we could have a look down here and see if there's anything that they would like to send instead. We could even send a little giraffe. So if we play it again. Okay. Cross. Seems to only be sending crosses. Okay, now a little giraffe, another cross, a llama, a duck. And as you can see with random, this is a very good way to partner with your mathematics class or something like that. So when they're looking at statistics or other areas where randomness is something that they work on, then it is a very interesting visual way of using microbits. Okay, so these were the few little projects that I have to show you today. I hope you have enjoyed today's webinar. We are planning on having some more webinars in September, October time. So keep your eyes posted. So far, what we have planned is some Halloween themed projects that you'll be able to use in your lessons if you want, and some Christmas theme projects and things like that. So I hope that may be of interest. If there's any areas that you would like to see covered in our webinars as a little introduction, because as a webinar, that's all we can really do. So if there's anything that you would like to see, please leave a comment in our video sections, either here or when we finally release this video. So if you can just leave a comment, we would very much appreciate that. Okay, so I wish you a very, let me just stop presenting, stop sharing. I wish you a very pleasant summer, good holidays for whoever is already on holiday, and have some rest. And I hope to see you again in the next academic stream. Bye.